The Seahawks, with the last selection in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft, take Jadarian Price, the Notre Dame running back. And this is a selection that has many Seattle Seahawks fans hyped up, as it does from their perspective fill a vital need that this team had coming into this draft that hadn't really been addressed throughout the course of this offseason. And it opened up with Kenneth Walker signing the richest free agent contract for a running back in NFL history. And then also having Zach Charbonnet on the late mend from a late season ACL tear that he had, meaning that you're not really sure when you're exactly going to get him back next season. Could be a couple weeks in the year, could be a month into the year. And so with this understood, this was something that needed to be addressed at some point or another, and Seattle knocks it off the board here on the first day of the draft. And that though it is true, this does fulfill a need. And though it is also true, it does fulfill a necessity within this offense seemingly to get the big play running back. Because last year in Kenneth Walker, you had a guy that had about 280 carries. He had about 42 runs of 10 yards or more on those 280 carries. Zach Charbonnet had about 180 carries. He only had about 13. So quite a difference. You weren't going to be able to just bring a guy off the bench to then fit that big play ability back into the offense for what Walker gave you. And you have in Jadarian Price a guy at the forefront, and what he brings to the table is being his big play ability. Nobody in college football had a higher big play percentage than him. But I think that there's also the connection back to the origins of this system, to the type of running back that this system wants to produce. And when you go back to this outside zone system, it goes back to Mike Shanahan, it goes back to Denver. And what Denver had in that time was three main components that really made it run. There was some extra stuff like Rod Smith and Shannon Sharp's good tight end, but it was the John Elway with his postdoctorate area of thinking as a quarterback, even though he was an elder statesman at that point, a guy that had really mastered the position. Then you had a mobile offensive line, which was super unique for the NFL at that time. And then you had Terrell Davis. And what you have in Terrell Davis are echoes from that past here now to Jadarian Price. When you look at Terrell, he, like Jadarian, had to sit on the depth chart at Georgia and had to do so behind a very talented running back, meaning that it wasn't necessarily for a lack of his ability or some skills he could bring to play, but as much as how good that back was. In that case, it was Garrison Hurst. So he serves in Georgia in this backup role for a program that tended to have a lot of running backs always kind of backing up a little bit at that time. He comes to Denver, not under a lot of fanfare as a late round pick, is thought as maybe just a special teamer guy, kind of at best, but he has a level of explosion, contact balance, vision, patience at the right moment. And he's able to then maximize that blocking scheme and what Elway could bring to play. And in doing so, he was busting off those big runs right and left for Denver. And with Terrell Davis, when you look at the two numbers between these guys, Terrell Davis's pro day and then what you got from Jadarian Price as far as what he tested at the combine, I think there's a lot of similarities as far as, especially when you look at the now next generation era we're in, where all the testing numbers are going to be slightly better. It's like if you just build in for inflation rates with Jadarian Price, it's kind of the equivalent to what Terrell Davis's numbers were back in the day. And the bottom line on both of the two players is that their testing numbers tell you that it's not necessarily just pure speed or pure explosion that they work off of, though they do have both of those two things. I think they're two players that have things that aren't necessarily easily testable. Vision, patience, a sense of timing in this blocking system, that ability as well to get explosive in the open field, not necessarily be a purely explosive guy per se, but have those explosive moments in the open field where you can work off of contact balance and still keep yourself running almost full speed off that contact balance. And he's kind of that type of guy, and that's one of the reasons he's able to bust off those type of runs. And when he's going to punish you, he's going to punish you hard. You get a guy that's in the system at times and, okay, we open up a hole, we'll get you 10 yards. Here's a guy that's going to go get you 40, 50. Hell, he might just house it. So you are now returning this into the offense, and this does go back to the origins of the style of running back that has had maybe the most success of any running back in this system ever. After all, Terrell Davis once ran for 2,000 yards in the system, and he'd be more celebrated as a player if not for the fact the very next year he completely blew out his knee, and this was before they could do all of the reconstructing to bring you back to full steam. It was kind of like, you're done at that point. You had a good run, too bad. But Davis fits really closely to Jadarian Price as far as their physical profile, how they run, the way that they're built. I mean, there's a lot of close alignment, their track record of coming out of college and what brought them here now. And like Terrell Davis, Jadarian Price is well set up at this point to maximize this opportunity to the fullest. Because what do the analytic folks tell us? They say if you want to maximize a running back, if you truly want to go get the talented running back, or the running back that could be, in this case, a big play running back, if we just want to say that's what he is. And he might be a little bit more, but let's just say he's just that. They say you got to get that offensive line on point. Offensive line's on point. All 5 starters returning. Continuity, chemistry, in effect now, the likes of which we haven't seen here in Seattle in multiple decades. You got receivers all returning back in the fold so you can remain dangerous out there. You've got a quarterback that can play at the very least at a top 10 level of play, challenging defenses to stay in that cover 2 shell so they can't just bring guys up into the box, load up the offense, load up against that run, and stop it in that fashion. And you even got backup running backs, especially as far as Charbonnet gets back into the fold, to where now you can rotate through those backs and keep Price fresh so he doesn't have to take on too heavy of a load. And then you even got the final point of this, which is a grade A defense, maybe the best defense in the NFL, which also gets quick stops, not bend but don't break, but quick stops to then get the ball back to the offense. You're going to be playing with a lot of leads. Price is going to get a lot of grade A opportunities to really maximize this to the utmost and take advantage of what is maybe one of the best situations for any running back in the NFL to go and take flight. So I can see the vision. Even if you can't, this is the Seahawks vision, and it's not one where they're squinting their eyes or they're creating a mirage. There is definitely a lot of comparison to be had between these 2 players and how you can see them. We'll see if it takes to form. He's going to probably hit the ground running very fast next year. As I said, you're probably going to wait a little bit on Zach Charbonnet coming back in. But once he is back in, you're going to have your 2-headed monster back. And this offense is once again going to be very hard to deal with, as where do you want to try to put your concentration? Where do you want to put your focus and what you want to try to stop? Because we'll just hit you in the other direction. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. It's going to be a wild day 2 as the Seattle Seahawks are working off only a couple of remaining picks, and John was not quite able to trade back today, but still one that I'm expecting is going to be a pretty exciting day tomorrow nonetheless. Thank you for watching. My name is Brandon Kane. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. But beyond all else, don't you ever forget, go Hawks. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks and my code HMA. Both Brendan and I are sponsored by Prize Picks, which is America's #1 sports app. The app is really easy to use. Just pick more or less, lock in your lineup, go out there and make yourself some money. Prize Picks is available in many of the states in the United States, including Texas and California. Though in Washington, you will still have to use it on a casino's network if you want to use the app in full. They've got a new user offer where if you put down $5 on a lineup, they will get you $50 in lineup when you either use my code, HMA, or simply just click the link down in the description section below. Terms and conditions do apply. Please see their site for details, and always remember to gamble responsibly.